Cullman today. I'm out with Representative Randall Shedd. We're at City Hall in City of Cullman. Representative Shedd, we just had a public hearing on cemetery matters. You asked in the beginning about getting public input. You got it today, didn't you?
We did. We had a good public hearing. It's democracy in action. I said from the beginning, as you mentioned, that I would have a public hearing, a public forum for people to address their concerns for or against, and we had that, and a lot for, a lot and against.
But I am wholeheartedly in favor of this, just for the simple fact that somebody needs to maintain that cemetery. I understand not everybody has family buried out there, but just out of common decency to somebody's deceased loved one, I think it ought to be taken care of.
I'm afraid that it leaves open a fictitious cemetery, let's call it Acme Cemetery, up on somebody's private property, that if they are allowing their cemetery to become in disrepair, then it opens up that point for the taxpayer to fund the going and cleaning up that cemetery, whether it's a private cemetery or a church, for example, that has a cemetery and they're paying out $50,000 a year to keep it maintained, and then they end up saying, well, why should we pay out that kind of money? Why don't we just let it get in disrepair, and this cemetery board will be required to come in and take care of that one. So,
and I know y'all have invested a lot of money into this particular mausoleum. It's shameful that this individual has skipped town and left you high and dry. And I have heard this story before about somebody had bought 2 different plots 2 different times and still have nothing to show for it. So there's a lot of emotion involved in this. I understand that, but I don't think that it is the taxpayer's duty to have to clean up this mess. He really said exactly what I was thinking. There needs to be something done about it. I agree with that. But I'm opposed to this particular bill and the wording in this bill, because I feel like it is going to open up this can of worms.
I think we'll come away from it, though, with a consensus that people will support. We'll make some changes to the legislation, most likely, but I'm more determined than ever to solve the problem, because it's worse than I realized it was.
Get these bodies out because they're in such bad condition. They've also told me they're in a nightmare situation when they get these bodies out. It's part of the legislation, and the $50,000 operational. Is it part of it going to be available to us families for disinterring the bodies that are in this mausoleum?
Well, what I was impressed with is the turnout. This auditorium was just darn near full. You had 3 out of 4 of our local legislators in there, candidates, elected officials. There's a lot of interest for this.
It is an issue that just really bothers a lot of us. And as I mentioned in the public hearing, I don't have family at Cullman Memory Gardens, so it's not a personal issue with me. But it's just an unacceptable situation, and it's an unacceptable problem that we've got to solve in our community. We should not stand for the situation that we have in this community at Cullman Memory Gardens.
I understand. So after this public hearing, what's the next step for you who's leading this movement?
I will take the comments. I made notes, and I'll take the comments of the concerns that people had and the suggestions that people had. And I learned a long time ago, if we'll open up government to the people and let people make suggestions, they can come up with some mighty good ideas. So we'll take those and make what changes we can to the legislation. But we got to have a beginning, and this legislation will be the beginning of solving the problem. We may have to come back next year with more legislation. If that's the case, we will, but we got to start somewhere to solve the problem.
Well, I think